Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle.
Nice.
Thumbs up.
Thanks for coming to this one. My name is Josh Moore. I live in the area. I'm currently in grad school for counseling and work at a Catholic school. And yeah, I've lived in Milwaukee for about 2 years. I'm originally from Illinois, so I was very sad today when the Packers won because I'm a Bears fan, and I'm like, the one game I wanted to win. But alas, you guys got in the playoffs, so congratulations. Anyway, that's me.
That's you. I'm Nick, and I am his roommate along with another guy. I work at a video production company as a video editor. And I was originally born and raised in Virginia, and then the Lord called me here to work as a missionary for college students for 3 years, and Milwaukee captured my heart, and I've been still here ever since. Yeah, that's me.
All right, my name is Merridith, Frediani, and I'm also from the area. I'm from St. Robert Parish. I have 3 kids who also go to St. Robert Parish, and yeah, work at Dominican High School.
Awesome. So as you guys can see on this lovely TV screen, that this talk is all about why modesty and chastity are so important. And to begin, I just want you guys to think for yourselves for a second. You don't need to say it out loud, but just think for yourselves. Have you ever heard of the phrase, "It's my body, I can do what I want"? Most of us probably have. Everyone probably has at some point. And now I want you to think in your head again about whether you think this statement is true. You can answer that for yourself. I am a fan of always finding the truth where it is found, because sometimes you get things that are just like, hit on the nail, that's it. And other times you hear things that are like, there's good here, there's, let's kind of piece this out. So I'm a fan of piecing things out. And so I think there are some very true things about this statement. I want to highlight those. Namely, that we have real authority over our lives. We can choose what we think is best for us, how we carry ourselves, how we be in relationship. We can choose our career path, our vocational path, what we eat, drink, when we go to bed. We can choose a lot of things, and that authority, the capacity to choose, is good. And our authority is rooted in our freedom and free will. And free will just means our ability to choose things like you guys do, that you guys exercise that every single waking moment of your lives. Choose when to do this, do that, come here, go there, wherever. But the thing that I want you guys to remember, and I think it's good to know, is that authority always bears with it responsibility. So if you've ever seen the OG Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, Uncle Ben's famous phrase, "With great power comes great responsibility." Each of us bears with us responsibility to choose what is best for ourselves. That's the call of the authority that God has given us, to be responsible with it. And we can either use that authority for good, the good of ourselves, or for the good of other people, or for their ill, or for our own ill. Meaning we can choose things that are bad for us. And I say that because when the church teaches about some sort of specific moral behavior, as I'm sure you guys are familiar with, the church is trying to promote a proper use of your authority and a right use of your responsibility. We call it freedom for excellence in the moral sphere. Freedom to choose good things that actually make you happy and whole and fulfilled. So, with that in mind, what does that all have to do with chastity and modesty? To understand it, I think we need to understand the meaning of our existence as human beings, deep words I know, but the meaning of our human existence through a particular lens. And that lens is called the law of the gift. And that simply means that we as human beings find ourselves, discover who we are, know who we are, fulfilled by making a sincere gift of our lives for others. And when you just think about it for a second, if you've ever done something good for someone, you usually feel good about it, like good inside. But whenever you know you chose selfishly, you don't feel as good. That's because that's the language of your heart speaking about the law of the gift. That you're meant to give your life away. That's where you find fulfillment and happiness. And it's really, I think, the meaning of what it means to be a human person. But I don't say that on my own authority. I say that on the authority of St. John Paul II, because this teaching of the law of the gift comes to us through what's known as the theology of the body. And the theology of the body is a series of catecheses that he wrote about human love, marriage, and third one, what it means to be a human person. He said himself, St. John Paul said that he was a champion of human love, and he committed his life to it. Those were his words. He actually said that. And the theology of the body is the fruit of that commitment to human love, because he knew it was beautiful and worthy of upholding amidst what we find in our world. And so going back to the law of the gift, think in your head again. I'm sure all of you guys have received gifts in your life from other people. Christmas just rolled around. I'm sure you guys got presents, but even outside of Christmas, I'm sure people have given gifts to you to which you have received. Now, what do you typically do with a gift? Well, first of all, you're grateful for it. You're thankful that the person actually had the thought of giving you something. You cherish it. You use it if it's a practical gift. Sometimes you forget about it, but then in forgetting, you remember it and the goodness of that gift. And we receive all kinds of gifts over the course of our lives. I think the best gifts that we can receive are those that are made by human hands, that people actually put work into. Because one of my favorite gifts is a crocheted blanket that one of my friends knit for me. And I love it so much because she put so much work and effort and so much meaning into every single stitch of that crocheted blanket that to this day, it still warms my heart the fact that I have it. For one, I really wanted one because she's really good at making blankets, but it is also very meaningful. Even above all the gifts, like Christmas presents and stuff that I received, but that gift I deem as one that I truly hold close to my heart. So if the gifts that are made by hands are the greatest, then I want you guys to know too that in Scripture, in Genesis and other parts of Scripture, that the Bible tells us that we are the work of God's own hands. That He formed us, that He breathed into us the breath of life, made us as we are. This means that the gift of our bodies and our personhood calls for the greatest reverence. And that is what the church means when speaking about chastity and modesty. Namely, that it's a virtue that enables us to reverence the dignity of our own personhood with respect, or the dignity of the personhood with respect to our own body and those of others. It's all about reverence and respect of the gift. Now, when it comes to practicing these virtues of chastity and modesty, both men and women are called to practice it. It's not put upon one over the other. Both are called. Why? For the sake of each other. Remember, our lives are a gift, using our authority, responsibility for the sake of others. We're meant to practice these virtues for the sake of each other. Because chastity and modesty are great teachers. They teach us how to love. They teach us the meaning of authentic human love. Which is why, beyond being restrictive, which a lot of people tend to think of it, it's very liberating, because these virtues promote a freedom to love. And with that, I'll hand it off to Nick, because he has some words to say as well.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Just thinking about this talk and thinking more about it too, and just the emphasis like he put on about that, the law of the gift, that we were made, our lives are made to be given, whatever it is in our vocation, like to the spouses, the priesthood, religious life, like we're made to be a gift, right? And generally too, I think we're again made to give ourselves one another in one way or the other, and then just reflecting, just thinking about Genesis, and right, the Lord made all of us in His image and likeness, right? Before sin, before the fall came, right? We were made good. Our bodies are good. Our sexuality is good. But when sin, right, came into this world, right, that just distorted this vision that the Lord has given us. Josh was again talking about like the gift, and that can also be distorted, right? And how we view ourselves and how we view others can be very much distorted. There's a beautiful teaching, or just a beautiful tradition that the church has. I don't know if y'all seen like at Mass, there are women that come to Mass and wear a veil. I always found that so beautiful. And my friend, he was telling me, or asking me, like, why do you think women veil themselves? I'm like, why? And he mentions how in the tabernacle, there's a veil in it. And in that veil, behind the veil, is Jesus, right? In the Blessed Sacrament. And he was saying how we veil things that are sacred. And so for a woman to veil themselves, right, they're veiling something sacred, which is their womb, because they have the potentiality for life. And applying that to just all of us too, right? Like our bodies are sacred. Our bodies are made to be reverenced, right? And just especially in this fallen world, and especially because of our sin, right? We distort that, right? We distort that, and we don't use that for good. And then again, one of the words that came to me just like really when prepping for this talk was just self-respect. Like, how do I respect myself, and how should I respect others too? And I think that's all I can think about right now. So I don't know, Merridith, if you want to,
So what does all of this mean if you're a teenager in 2024, right? Like, these are all really important topics, really valuable things to know about, but how does that become practical for somebody who's trying to live in the world? So, modest dress, I'm going to focus mostly on that. In its essence, begins with the recognition that as fallen human beings, we're prone to not valuing people rightly. And we need to guard against that by clothing ourselves in such a way that people can more readily see our personal value, not just our sexual value. So modesty, in this context, isn't just pushing down our desire for others to see us as attractive. That's not that at all. We all want to be attractive, right? we intentionally pick out what we're wearing because we think we look good in it, or we think it looks nice. We take care of what our hair looks like. Girls wear makeup. Modesty isn't saying don't do those things. Modesty is just saying let's do it the right way so people see who we are, not see us as objects. So, modesty is asking us to moderate our desire to be desirable. We all want people to desire us, and we want people to like us and be friends with us, right? So we want to be thinking about dressing in a way that the beauty of our whole person, not just our body, shines forth. And this is what, I got this from a book called These Beautiful Bones by Emily Stimson, and she talks a lot about this kind of thing, and also about theology of the body, which Josh mentioned, just in a very practical ways. So, another way to look at this is, as they said, reverence. We reverence something that's beautiful and sacred, and that demands respect and protection. So, what is something that we reverence? Can you think of anything? Yeah.
The altar.
Good. Right, and we respect it, and we care for it, right? We have altar cloths. The priest blesses it during Mass. It's important. So try to frame modesty in the lens of reverence. We are human beings. We're created in God's image, right? As we said earlier. And because of that, we are by default beautiful and sacred. And we should be respected, and we should be protected. If the human body wasn't beautiful, would we even have to have this conversation? I mean, like if we were all walking around with warts on our faces and tufts of hair springing out of our head looking like trolls, we wouldn't have this conversation. The reason we have these conversations and we talk about modesty and why it becomes a big deal is because we are beautiful, every single one of us. Our body isn't bad. That's the message we sometimes get, especially in the church. I think people misinterpret the idea of modesty, that your body is bad. No, it's not. It's really good. And you were given it for a reason. It's a gift. And like Josh said, how do we treat a valuable gift? We reverence it, we care for it. So we're going to look at some examples of people both reverencing how they look and not. Just to give you some ideas of how this plays out in the world and maybe have you think about it. So when you see these people, think about how are they portraying themselves? Are they showing respect? Are they valuing? Or are they objectifying? So our first one is Kim Kardashian, which when I saw this picture, I was really, really surprised because I had no idea she was so beautiful. In most pictures we see her, she's kind of over the top, right? So here's some pictures, I found a few, where she is dressed modestly. It doesn't mean that it's not fun. It doesn't mean it's not attractive, but we get to see her personality come through also. You know, she likes to do different stuff with her hair. She's got a dress on. She's probably at an awards show or something. Now compare this with this. This is how we usually see her. Most of the pictures out there on the web of Kim Kardashian would be classified as immodest. When you see these pictures, what do you see? Do you see a person or do you see a body? I know inside your head you're saying, I see a body, right? She's not showing her dignity here. She's not showing respect for herself here. Here's another one. Beyonce, again, I was shocked. She's really pretty. She's got a great smile. And here's some pictures of her where she looks beautiful. She's dressed in great dresses. She's clearly doing something that she loves. She looks happy. So we see her as a person, right? We see an entertainer. We see a woman who enjoys being dressed up. But more often than not, we see her like this. What do you see? I mean, in the picture all the way left, she's got her face practically all the way covered with her sunglasses. She's like hiding. I found a bunch of pictures of her with these tons of sunglasses. I was like, why is she hiding her face? Our faces are where we really see people. But when you're dressed like this, we're not looking at the face, we're looking at the body. And that's objectifying, and that's not reverencing her. Does that make sense? Okay. And it's not just women. Women kind of carry the bulk of the responsibility for modest dressing, but it can be for men too. Here we have Ryan Reynolds, right? So in the picture on the left, he's got his hair done, he's wearing cool glasses, he's got a nice shirt, he clashes with the background, but we'll get over that. But it looks like you see the person, you can kind of see the spark in his eye. You know that there's a person who's got a good sense of humor under there. On the right, you just see a body. You don't see the human underneath it. Does that make sense? Here's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Again, on the left, we see him as a person. You can kind of see the twinkle in his eye. You know, if you've seen any of his movies, you know he's kind of a smart aleck. We see the tattoos because that's a big deal for him. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. We get to see him as a human being. The guy on the right, I mean, it's the same guy, our eyes are drawn to his body. It's not showing reverence. It's not protecting. So why do people make choices to do that? Why does Beyonce make this choice to dress this way? What I learned in my research is that a lot of times when people do this, it's because they're struggling with their self-worth. They don't believe that they're inherently valuable. So they're trying to prove it to others by revealing their body in some way. But the thing is, you don't have to do that. You don't have to prove anything to anybody, right? You don't need to use your body to prove that you're beautiful or attractive or handsome or good looking. You don't need to use it to prove that you're worthy or that you're worth knowing. You don't need to do any of those things because you are made in God's image. God created you intentionally. He looked around at his world. He's like, this is a great world. I'm really proud of this. But I need Mia to be in this world. Before her parents even met each other, he knew that she was going to be around. Before Sam's parents met each other, he's like, I need Sam. And at the right time, here you are. He wants you to be here, and he wants you to spend eternity with him. So think about this, guys. The God who made the world, the one we read about in Genesis, right? That same God made all of us. And he did it, and it's not an accident. It's not like, oh, this random sperm hit this random egg, and boom, there you are. No, you are here because he wants you here. And he thinks you're beautiful, and he thinks you're awesome. And he gave you a body so that you can do sports, and so you can read books, and so you can have hobbies, all these things. And he made it beautiful. And he made you worthy. So he wants all of this for you. So, yes, we have authority over our bodies. We can make these choices. But the Catholic Church encourages us to make choices that reverence it, that show respect, that protect the beauty that we all are. Even if you look in the mirror and you think you're kind of funny looking, which I know we all do, you're not, you're beautiful. God looks at you and thinks you're beautiful. Your parents, I guarantee, think you are amazing. They probably stare at you when you don't even know it. I do that. So, we don't always have to do this way. I'm going to show you a few pictures of some people who we see their personality, but we also see them having fun with it, and we see them dressed in a modest fashion. Because modesty is about our internal state, right? It's our perception of our worth. And that's what Lillian Fallon said. She has a book called Theology of Style, in case you're interested in learning more. She's pretty cool. But this is Kate Middleton, or Princess Kate. It was so easy to find photos of her dressed modestly. You will never, ever see her in anything other than something like this. But in these photos, what we see is a person who appears happy. We see creativity. We see color. We see smiles. We see a face. We see a person, right? Our eyes aren't just focused on one specific aspect of her. We see the whole person. Another example of somebody who does this really well is Taylor Swift. in that picture of her in the blue dress, you can kind of just like see it on her face. It's like, I've got a secret. That's what I feel like she's thinking to herself. The one on the right, no, left. That's what she wore for the Eras tour. She's having fun. She's performing. She's doing her job. But she's still modest. She doesn't have body parts like hanging out all over the place, right? But she's having a good time. So they're protecting themselves, they're caring for themselves. They're treating their body as something valuable. And it's not just, again, it's not just the women. Here's Brad Pitt, who is, I think I would go toe to toe with anyone in the world and say he's one of the best looking people God ever created. I'm not wrong. Except in this picture here on the left, I'm kind of like, what happened here? His hair is horrible, his beard is unkempt, he looks like he's stoned. This is somebody who didn't care when he walked out the door. On the right, he did care. He's treating himself with respect. He's treating the people around him with respect too because of how he's choosing to dress himself. And it makes a difference. So when you're dressing in sloppy, baggy clothes, you're not respecting yourself. Does that make sense? Like, how you put yourself together, what you choose to wear, it makes an impression. And that's what modesty is all about. It's about saying, I'm valuable, I'm worth something. I'm going to present to the world who I am. Because I'm not just a body, I'm a person. So, I have a takeaway for you. The thing I'd love for you to go home and think about tonight. You have dignity. And you have worth. Whether you see it or not, it is there. This is the truth that Josh was saying he's always looking for. These two things are true. So my suggestion is use how you dress to express those things. Use it to express your originality, your creativity, and who you are, and reverence yourself. Because you're valuable. You're so valuable, and this world needs you. Do you have any questions? Very quiet. High schoolers are very quiet. Did everything we say make sense?
You can ask us whatever. It's like a burning question. Like, yeah, I don't quite know if it's just ask it. But if you don't have one, then that's okay too.
How do you where's the line between vanity and presenting yourself with the dignity that you know that you have? Because
Yeah, that's a good question.
I feel like it can go on.
Yeah. Are we all familiar with what vanity is?
I suspect you have a definition that might be different than ours.
I don't have a textbook definition, but as I understand vanity, it's, I think it could be pride seeped into modesty, where it should be, where you care so much about the way you present yourself as a place of place of pride in a negative respect, where you, I'm trying to think of the words. Are you getting what I'm kind of getting at a little bit? Maybe not. I'm trying to think of a working definition, but because I can say things about it, but I need to find an actual working definition to work with. But I'm not sure if you guys have a different one to work with.
So are you thinking about vanity as attaching too much significance?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I would honestly, I would need to sit with it for a bit, because I don't have one to pull right out of my head.
Is that what you kind of meant, Jocelyn?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of so you guys talk a lot about the way one having self-respect, but also so if you come to this point of
Mm-hmm.
I have like self-respect for myself because I understand that I'm good, I have dignity, and I have worth. But then we also talked a lot about like the way that we dress, which yeah, like how do you not become like too full of yourself by saying like I know that I am good, and like go into like vanity, and but still be able to like be proud of who you are and like confident, and have like that self-respect. Like where's that line? Like practically, I think.
Gosh, I had a thought, but then it lost. Because I was thinking about vanity, and it could be the respect where you begin to place your self-worth solely in how you dress.
Sure.
So the right ordering of what modesty is supposed to do is to meant to express the dignity of your own personhood, but then you put your worth in the way you look, in the way you dress, in all, and you take so much excessive care over how you look that
It's just distorted.
it's
Right.
distorted in the fact that your identity is not rested on a firmer foundation. It's rested in whether I'm wearing this vest or not, or whether my beard looks very kempt or my hair looks fine or whatever, something like that.
Because I'm thinking too, like, I don't know, like, I know fashion, like, changes a lot through time or whatnot. And I know, like, right now, like being comfy and, like, being outside, like, going to the grocery store in, like, comfy clothes is, like, just what people do, you know, versus, like, when I was growing up, like, my sister would do that and my mom would be like, why are you going to the store in, like, sweatpants and, like, a hoodie? But, like, that's just what we do. But, like, is that, like, where does that fall in, like, treating your body well, or, like, presenting yourself well, if you're, like, comfortable, like, going out in comfy clothes, because that's just what you wear. I don't know. That's, like, a very, like, particular question, but I was just, like, thinking about it because of, like, one of the pictures.
Oh yeah, the sloppy guys? Yeah.
I was thinking maybe too, even like, you see the clips of like if someone's gonna be freaking out or something, like if the piece of clothing they're wearing got like destroyed, like ate in place, like, and how much time they spend and money on that. That usually just in general, like, there's an easy way to look at someone's priorities of their time, where they spend their money,
Sure.
and if that seems out of whack.
That's true. Yeah.
Or like detachment from, like if you had to get your clothes from clearly all like Goodwill or like from whatever someone gave you.
So you're saying like sometimes, like I guess even like how, like what your mentality is in like choosing your clothing.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you guys were saying too. Can be like that line too. I don't know. It's okay if you don't have an answer. I'm just like thinking out loud.
I know on one, a piece of the equation that you can add is that, so modesty is a virtue, vanity is a vice. Virtues and vices are expressed in our capacity to choose, our free will. We choose to do these things, and so part of it, a piece, not the whole, but a piece of it has to do with our interior disposition of what is the language that is welling up in within my own heart in my choices of wearing this or this or this in these circumstances. Because obviously, I don't think you go to a wedding wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. Because the dignity of the ceremony calls forth a greater respect expressed through our dress, which is why men, we typically wear suit and ties, women dresses, and we get all prettied up. It would be disproportionate if we chose to wear home clothes at a wedding, or at a dinner, or
On a date.
on a date, for example.
Well, I think it's also keeping the perspective that while what we wear can be a way of expressing ourselves and expressing our value. It isn't defining that. Like, I think it also happens with people with jobs, like they get caught up in their job becomes so much part of who they are, that then if they lose their job or then they lose their whole sense of self. Like our sense of self isn't all just what we're wearing, but it's a way of representing that and a way of showing to ourselves and others that we're valuable. And sometimes it's just like, you like, fake it till you make it kind of thing. If you don't believe you're on but you keep giving yourself a message, eventually you're gonna internalize it. But being careful not to let it go so far to, well, I'm better because I dress this way. That's not cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like just one more piece. I always think it's very helpful to ask the question for yourself, why am I doing this? Because we all make choices every single day, but you always have to ask the question, why am I doing it? So with regards to that line, why am I choosing this over this? You know.
Any other questions? Thank you for being good listeners. Not falling asleep. Appreciate it.